Now, let's just bring you up to speed now with our lead story, where the president accepted the resignation of the finance minister, Kemi Adeosun. The president thanked her for her services to the nation and wished her well in her future pursuits. The president also approved that the Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, should oversee the Ministry of Finance with effect from today. Mrs. Adeosun hinged her resignation on the outcome of the investigation into the veracity of her NYSC exemption certificate. Now, let me just read a part of her resignation letter to you. I have today become privy to the findings of the investigation into the allegation made in an online medium that the certificate of exemption from National Youth Service Corps that I presented was not genuine. This has come as a shock to me, and I believe that in line with this administration's focus on integrity, I must do the honorable thing and resign. And resign indeed, she did. Let's move on now. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, says the government will not back down in its resolve to ensure that fake news is curtailed in the country. The minister, who paid a visit to the corporate headquarters of Channels Television here in Lagos as part of the federal government's campaign against fake news, said the phenomenon has the capacity to destabilize the polity and government policies. Our correspondent Loretta Chiogo reports.
The chairman and CEO of Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo, leads the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, and his team into the boardroom of Channels Television headquarters in Lagos. The business of the day is to join hands with media houses to rid the country of fake news.
Fake news, if left unchecked, like I said, has the capacity to bring even wars to countries. We also saw what happened in Rwanda, where over 800,000 innocent lives were lost to fake news and hate speeches. In Nigeria here, we've seen that fake news has aggravated the natural, political fault lines of ethnicity and religion. And even the BBC came out with the outcome of its research that the so-called herdsmen-farmers clashes is actually being aggravated by fake news. We also read that the Vanguard newspaper also conducted its own investigations and came out with the report that the so-called underage voting in last year's Kano, was it February this year, Kano local government election, was actually a manipulation of images. That is why we believe that we all need to put our hands together, because it is because there's a country called Nigeria. That is why we can all practice our profession.
And it is time for questions, and some are posed to the minister.
But sometimes there's a very thin line between fake news and what the government of the day doesn't want to see. So, can you clarify that aspect?
We've had series of communal clashes in this country, ranging from the cattle rustling in Zamfara and Kaduna State to the so-called herdsmen farmers clashes in Taraba, in Benue and Benue, to the purely ethnic clashes in Plateau. But unfortunately, we have not been rigorous enough in interrogating this phenomenon. And we've allowed the politicians in particular and the opposition to do its pain.
Meanwhile, the chairman CEO of Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo, insists that the station will only continue to uphold its principles of balancing news reports, as it is responsible to all in the area of accountability and transparency.
What we do here is to report all sides to an issue at all times. We strive to do that. Secondly, when events happen around the country, it's our responsibility to report. When it threatens national security, it's our responsibility to make sure that such matters are kept in check so that we do not threaten our own national security. Channels, again, is a professional organization. We do not support any political parties. I, as the head, am not a politician. I belong neither to PDP, APC, ADC, ADP, any other party. I am purely, along with my colleagues, a professional. I do not intend to join any political party. And we also must serve our watchdog role, because that's the essence of our being, the watchdog role of society, and to make the people to be aware of their rights and responsibilities to the state, to government. So when people think that because we are reporting the opposition, we are part of the opposition, that's a no-no. When people think that we are reporting government, we are part of government or sympathetic to government, that's the no-no.
According to the minister, the campaign against fake news will go round all media houses, both print and electronic. Loretta Chiogo, Channels Television News.
From there, let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Linda Akigbe. Linda.
Hello, Ijoma, and welcome to Abuja. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has restated its resolve to curb in the menace of vote buying during the forthcoming governorship election in Osun State. According to the chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, one of the strategies INEC is adopting is to seek strong partnerships with the anti-graft agencies towards the arrest and prosecution of offenders.
Within the last 1 week, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission has had several engagements with stakeholders on how to best address the menace of vote buying during elections in Nigeria. In each of those gatherings, the attention of participants were fixed on politicians who engage in vote buying and how they can be made accountable for their actions.
Why are politicians?
However, at this forum with civil society organizations in Abuja, INEC and other participants are not only thinking about how to discourage politicians from buying votes, but also focus on the role of the electorates, just as INEC seeks strong partnership with anti-graft agencies to curb the menace of vote buying in the elections ahead, starting with Osun State.
Not too long ago, we had a meeting with the EFCC. They have the capacity and actually the legal responsibility as well to track finances and to prosecute violators. And only last week we had a similar meeting with the ICPC as well. So we'll continue to work with these agencies. We hope that in Osun, they will also help to deploy at least to some of the polling units. The second is to try and ban the use of some devices that aid vote buying on election day, such as the mobile phones.
Why are politicians interested in buying the votes? It is because the voters will now be the ones to vote. Unlike in time past, perhaps when materials are taken to people's homes and thumbprinted, and then even if they give you salt and whatever, Maggi and the rest of them, it does not equate. Now they are bringing the monies to the voting areas. And it's important that we put pressure on citizen engagement with this issue.
The menace of vote buying is no doubt a big concern for the electoral umpire, and addressing it may require more than just arresting and prosecuting politicians who buy votes. Some participants at this conference are of the opinion that the trends and reasons why voters sell their votes should also be analyzed and addressed.
The lack of payment of the emolument or pensions of workers, especially in a state like Ekiti, that was purely a civil service state, made the voters
not to resist the offer of cash. There is need for an economic empowerment of citizens, and government needs to play a critical role in ensuring even distribution of wealth.
The Osun State governorship elections is about 8 days to go. It is the last governorship election that INEC will conduct before the general elections next year. Hence the urgent need for all stakeholders to play their role in curbing the menace of vote selling and buying elections.
President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mr. Mustapha Mehaja, to declare a national disaster on all flooded areas across the states. The President's directive follows a warning by the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency that rivers Benue and Niger had almost reached levels that resulted in flooding in 2012, which led to a loss of lives and destruction of property. The Presidency also directed the Director General of NEMA to activate the disaster response units of the military for possible search and rescue missions, and the procurement and proportionate stocking of relief materials and health-related items up to 3 billion naira to provide for the needs of possible victims.